Grace to you and peace from God our Father and our Lord Jesus Christ. This morning is the second Sunday in our Engaging Generosity Emphasis month. Our fall, our annual stewardship campaign, our annual giving campaign. Engaging generosity, stewardship, giving, managing all of our gifts. We're going to talk about that again this morning. Why do we give thanks? Why do we give thanks? Why does anyone give thanks? We hear the gospel reading this morning about the one thankful man who had been healed, who came, who realized he was healed, turned back, worshipped God, gave thanks to God. This is a text that we also, if we have Thanksgiving Eve service, we hear the gospel reading that evening. Is that a familiar story to you? The 10 lepers? The very thankful Samaritan who came back to thank and praise God. Taking care of our financial household and our household of gifts is something that we do in a spirit of thanks. I want to look carefully at the gospel reading this morning and to fill out a little bit about this thing about people from Samaria and the thing about people from Galilee. So, as you remember, the Samaritan person who stopped by and took care of the man who was beaten up by the side of the road, it was shocking because the Samaritan was the last sort of a person that we'd think who would stop and help a Jewish person. My husband and I were talking about the text this week, and he gave sort of a contemporary version, not exactly the same, but Samaritans and Jews worshipped the same God. Samaritans worshipped Yahweh, but they were folks that their ancestors had been exiled to Samaria. And so they married Samaritan folk. And so they had one foot in Judaism and the other in being Gentiles. So they're a little bit like how sometimes ELCA Lutherans and perhaps Missouri Synod Lutherans view Wisconsin Synod Lutherans. Or on the other foot, if you're Wisconsin Synod or Missouri Synod, you might look at the ELCA as a Samaritan or as a Jew. Does that make sense? That's not something I want you to necessarily quote, but that's just to give you an understanding of we come from the same groundedness, but don't agree with exactly how we live our faith and worship. But I think there was more animosity towards Samaritans from the Jews than what we experience today. I hope so, anyway. Jesus doesn't focus on necessarily, the emphasis of this reading is not why we're denying not coming back to praise God. I mean, Jesus does ask that question, but the focus of this reading is on the one who did, the Samaritan, the one who was not expected, the one who was an outsider, a foreigner. What did he do? There are a number of verbs I'd like to emphasize in what the Samaritan experienced in his journey with Jesus that day. First of all, he approached Jesus, but stayed a little a little far back because lepers were considered to be unclean, ritually unclean, as well as, I don't want to get that disease kind of unclean. They called out to Jesus, "Master, have mercy. Be merciful to us." So why did Jesus say, "Go and show yourselves to the priests"? Does anyone know? Those who were unclean were sometimes cast out beyond the city gates. And they had to go through a ritual cleansing to be able to be allowed back in. So lepers needed to sort of have the stamp of approval if they'd been healed, so that they could come back into the community. But of course, the Samaritan wouldn't have been able to come back into the community anyway because he was an outsider. But regardless, Jesus told him to go back and to show himself to the priest. And as they went, they were made clean. What happened for the Samaritan man? All the group was busy making a beeline to the priests so that they could be acknowledged as being healed. But the Samaritan noticed. He noticed that he was healed. He saw that he was healed. So for us, an important part of our life in faith is to notice, to look for, to notice of the goodness of God in and around and through us. To notice. The first thing he did was notice. So think for a moment. Let yourselves take in all that is around you. All it is that you receive from God as gifts. Just let those come to your mind's eye, to your awareness. Nothing too small, nothing too great. Notice the beauty and love that God gives you, and all the talents and abilities that you have come from God. The Samaritan noticed. Then he changed his direction. There was intention in his thanks. He turned back and went back to Jesus. So he had an action. First he noticed, then he had an action. He went against the flow of the other 9, turned back to Jesus. His thanks wasn't internal. Well, it wasn't internal only. He came back. He noticed. He turned around, praising God with a loud voice. He was very thankful for what God had done for him. With a loud voice, he was saying, "Praise God, how you did that." Scare some of you? I'm sorry. He was excited. He was thrilled. Where is that? Where is that? Praising God with a loud voice within us. We Lutherans sometimes are a little bit, shy and quiet. But God loves a cheerful noise. God loves hearts that are not afraid to praise God with a loud voice. So the leper, now made clean, notices, sees that he's clean, turns back, praises Jesus, praises God with a loud voice, and then that weird word that we sometimes mix up with another one. He prostrated himself. Prostrated himself. It's not that other word that men deal with. Does anybody know what prostrate oneself is? Lying down on the floor, on the ground. In the Roman Catholic Church, when priests are ordained, that's part of the service. And Now that's a pretty vulnerable position to have, I'd say, wouldn't you? To lie down on the floor, stretched out, open to what God has in store and giving thanks as well. He prostrated himself at Jesus' feet, this one who was an outsider. Comes to this totally vulnerable space before Jesus. How do we get vulnerable before Jesus? How do we do that? I imagine there's many ways to do that, as there are folks sitting in the pews and standing at the pulpit. It was an intentional action by the Samaritan of lying down face to the earth before Jesus. Letting go of self, letting go of what other people might think about him, letting go of that he was the only one who came back. And then what did the Samaritan do? Do you remember from the text? He thanked him. He thanked Jesus. Thank you for making me whole. And he was a Samaritan. Here is this person who's outside the Jewish community, who is living the model of what it means to be a believer. The unexpected one. Perhaps there is an unexpected part of us also that we might be surprised at in finding new and different ways of saying thank you to God. Again, I think the point is not to say, oh, I forgot to say thank you. I was one of those 9. I think the point is to notice. To be intentional, to look for what are God's gifts and goodness all around us that we enjoy. To intentionally turn around, to change our behavior, to make an intentional decision about how we are going to thank God. And in this emphasis, our engaging generosity through our stewardship is a way that we can notice, we can turn around and make intentional decisions about how to thank God with our money. I know that's uncomfortable. It is. Remember that I said last week and the week before that the most sensitive nerve in our body is from our our hand to our pocketbook or wallet. It's just plain true. And I think the more we talk about that, the less anxiety that produces. The less anxiety it produces. We're not putting it under the rug. We are coming before God prostrate, saying, I love you. This is how I will serve you. Help me. Help me to appreciate your love, your healing power, your gifts of life. And just love me in that. Some of you may have already received the mailing that was posted Thursday night from our Engaging Generosity team. I encourage you to read the different sheets of that mailing, that you take time to notice and ponder in your lives for all that we have to give thanks for in our lives and in our community. As we think about making our financial pledge to the ministry spending plan, last week I didn't see that in my sermon here, but I did in Hollandale. I think the ministry spending plan is a lot more fun than the word budget, isn't it? Gives it a whole different viewpoint. Maybe it is that We say ministry spending plan because we're seeing what God is doing through our gifts. Our taking time to think about the gifts that we shall give is really engages us dynamically in this mission and ministry of New Hope, and it also opens the way to call a pastor or design our staff, our ministry staff, to what our needs in our ministry are. Not basing who we call as a pastor on the money that we expect we might have based on last year. Does that make sense? There's all kinds of possibility for God's work to happen more and more when we stop, notice, and are intentional about our worship and praise and in giving thanks to God. I'm expecting to be delightfully surprised when we learn the generosity of all of us. We're not gonna tell, like there was what they used to do in the church, they used to put down, this person gave this much money, and everybody saw it. We don't do that because that's a shaming thing. Give thanks, worship, and praise God with all your hearts. Amen.